Hello, how are you? Today I want to talk to you who have been feeling more muscle weakness as time goes by. Many people over 50 or 60 years old tell me, Patricia, I've been having a lot of trouble climbing stairs, carrying groceries, even getting up in the morning. I have to lean on something because I don't have much strength in my back and abdominal muscles. So why can this happen to people? What are the main villains in our daily lives? What can we do to minimize and improve this situation? Everyone wants to reach old age with independence, right? Being able to keep doing things on your own without depending on anyone. Maintaining muscle mass is super important, so you're going to love this video. Stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. Before we start, I want to ask you how old you are and where you're from. Tell me down below in the comments. I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video to help me out. That's really important to me here on the channel. This shows YouTube that you support the channel and that you trust my content. And if you have a friend or family member who is struggling with muscle weakness, share this video. You could really be helping that person. This loss of muscle mass, this weakness that has been happening gradually as time goes by and we get older, has a scientific name. It is sarcopenia, which is really related to this loss of muscle mass that starts at age 40. Studies say that it can be about 1% per year over the years. And of course, this accumulates, and usually after the age of 60, it starts to become more pronounced in our bodies. And we know that muscle has several important roles. The first role certainly has to do with daily activities with muscle strength, to carry groceries, to pick up a child, a son, a grandchild, to, in short, do everyday tasks, to go up, to go down, to walk back and forth. But muscle is also important for controlling blood glucose, for protecting our bones and joints, for supporting our posture, maintaining our balance, our immunity. So muscle ends up being truly a very noble, very important tissue. And losing muscle tissue is bad for us. We have to try to reverse this situation or stop it as much as possible. There are basically two things that many people do wrong, which make this situation much worse. Let's start talking more about this. The first thing definitely has to do with poor protein intake over the years. Many people, as time goes by and as they get older, tend to consume less and less protein. And then some people associate protein with heavy meats with difficulty digesting and say, I can't eat as much protein anymore. I don't do as well with steak, with pork, with a specific type of meat, so I'm cutting back on protein. Remember that there are several different types of protein with different levels of digestibility. Protein isn't only found in meat. That's another important point. But going back to meat, grilled chicken, ground meat is much easier for you to digest if that's your issue than meat that's stewed in a lot of fat, like sausage or roasted meat, fried meat, or even grilled meat with a higher fat content. So remember, if your issue is digestibility, leaner cuts and cuts that are already more broken down, like shredded or ground meat, are better options. It will be easier for you to improve and avoid that heavy feeling in your stomach. Another important point, as I just mentioned, is that meat isn't the only source of protein for us. We still tend to think that way a lot. Eggs are an excellent source of protein, as are legumes. Chickpeas, lentils, and beans are good sources of plant-based protein. Dairy products are also good sources of protein. So when we talk about increasing protein intake, it doesn't necessarily have to mean eating more meat, okay? That's another important point. Besides that, it's worth considering that instead of concentrating most of your protein intake only at lunch and dinner, the ideal approach is to distribute it more evenly throughout the day to support better absorption and satiety. In other words, you should eat some protein at breakfast, a little at lunch, a little at your afternoon snack, a little at dinner, and if you have a late night snack, some protein then as well. This ensures that you have a pool of circulating amino acids, which helps facilitate the absorption of this protein in the intestine, into the bloodstream, and it also helps improve your satiety. So that you avoid snacking, eating other foods that aren't as nutritious or beneficial. The second big mistake may be related to people becoming increasingly sedentary. We see a trend, not just among older people, but a general trend of people becoming more and more inactive in their daily lives. There are even people who exercise, for example, 30 minutes a day, but then spend the rest of the day lying down, sitting, working on the computer, scrolling on their phone, watching movies, watching TV. This is very problematic because our muscles need to be active to stay strong, so we don't lose muscle strength and muscle mass. So, of course, if you can do targeted exercise, that's even better. In fact, if you can do strength training, weightlifting, Pilates, swimming, water aerobics, that could be interesting for you, especially with the guidance of a physical education professional. But if you have any kind of contraindication, if you can't do the exercise, remember that staying more active helps preserve your muscle mass. A person who sits on the couch all day is much more likely to lose muscle mass than someone who, instead of taking the elevator, takes the stairs and works their leg muscles. Or instead of taking the bus all the way to the door, parks a little farther away or gets off a couple of stops earlier and walks part of the way. So ideally, you should keep your muscles active and avoid long periods of inactivity because this helps maintain and preserve your muscle mass as well. It's also worth discussing the important role of weight control because some people experience an unfavorable body recomposition as they age, gradually losing muscle mass while gaining more weight in the form of body fat, which can negatively affect strength and metabolic health. So in this case, it's even more problematic because you have less body strength, but your mass is greater. So it becomes even harder for someone who is overweight and has less muscle to perform these daily activities, even the most basic ones. So in this case, the ideal is for you to try to focus on exercise, on body recomposition in order to actually increase muscle mass and decrease fat mass so that you have then more muscle strength, less weight, less fat there, and you can have more flexibility, more agility as well. Let me know down below. Did you already know about these two villains? Which one do you think affects you the most? Is it inactivity or is it the issue of not getting enough protein in your daily life? Did you relate to either of them? Which one? Write it for me down below in the comments. Remember to like the video, that's really important to me, and share it with anyone you think could benefit from it, with anyone who would enjoy it. Let's work together to expand this chain of kindness. That's what I want here on the channel. See you next time. Bye.